my name's Roger Mills. I'm actually from Hackney, but I've lived in Tower Hamlets since the 1970s. And a while back, me and a group of friends joined together to actually tape record and talk about people's history, talking to the actual people. And we put a little book together, really, because we were interested in people's memories. And one of the major things that we realised happened on Cable Street was the Battle of Cable Street, as it became known, which took place on the 4th of October 1936. And it wasn't just the battle we were interested in, but their everyday lives and the strength of the community, which really made it possible for them to gather together and to see off the fascists on that day.
Because I guess that's part of the journey that we're on today, is trying to find out, for me in particular, is can we learn anything from these kind of moments in the past to help us prevent maybe moments of tension arising again in the future? Was there any overriding sense of what the context was like? So what was life like for people who took part in the battle? And
a lot of the families in Cable Street and the surrounding area were shopkeepers, or they were bootmakers, clothes repairers. Lots of little trades were going on in a way that we don't see now. They were poor, but they were fully occupied and very hard working. So we've seen in some of the documents we've looked at that, for instance, there was a tenancy agreement somebody was questioning, which actually stated that no Jews would be accepted as tenants, which is a terrible thing to see in print, because even though some people might have been anti-Semitic in their minds, it's quite shocking to see actually written down. We found that people who were applying for jobs in places like Holborn were being turned down and being told to their face that it was because they were Jewish.
So how did people feel about that? Was there something?
They probably didn't encounter it so much as when they went out for jobs elsewhere. Yeah. So I can only imagine that they resented that, but basically they got on with their lives and stayed within their own areas. The black shirts, the British Union of Fascists, were already holding meetings in places like Bow. So people were already aware of what Oswald Mosley's British Union of Fascists were about. It was about demonising a small section of society, saying that the Jews are all to blame for everything. Oswald Mosley was a very high-born, rich aristocrat, and a lot of his earlier followers were aristocrats or rich people, which people forget now, because those high-born fascists tended to melt away when they saw the more thuggish element taking control of the movement. They didn't want to dirty their own hands with that sort of activity. Yeah. And quite often, black shirts, either under the command of the hierarchy or of their own volition, would sometimes come into the East End of a night time and smash a few windows of obviously Jewish shops, beat people up. So there was a whole background of violence.
So all this built the tension to leading up to the battle, basically? That's
right. So people were very resentful of what they saw as people coming into their area to attack them. So when Oswald Mosley announced that he actually wanted to lead a huge march through East London, people were outraged, and people didn't want a confrontation. A petition of 100,000 signatures was handed in to the Home Secretary to request that the march be banned. But of course they took no notice, and so the EastEnders had no option really other than
take their own stance, basically.
They'd have to do it themselves.
Incensed by black shirt, anti-red, anti-Jew propaganda, Five East End boroughs unsuccessfully petitioned the Home Office to forbid the march. Now the crowd take matters into their own hands.